You are most warmly welcome to Bump Love, another Juma day where we invite you into our discussions. How has your week been? I see you. Those who recognize me from my afro, you're always bumping into me saying hello, thank you so much. And I say hello to you back. We're here on something sizzling. I'll introduce it by saying this. I train a lot of women and girls in public speaking. And while I was training this week, I realized how wonderful that they've been given this opportunity to educate themselves. Because 50, 70 years ago, women and girls weren't given the platform. Now some may say that is where feminism played a wonderful role. And that's what we're talking about today with this diverse, bright, intelligent panelists here before me. And I'll introduce them. Starting with Manuela on my right. Manuela, how are you today?
I am excited. I'm excited for this conversation. I think it's I think it's going to be a good one. I think I'm going to like I have this feeling that it's
the energy.
It's a good day anyway, so I feel like that conversation is going to be amazing.
I love the way your hair is bouncing in all the right directions.
Zuri did that.
Good. Good to see you again. Barbara Ichuma, co-host, how are you doing today? How's your week been?
My week's been good, but unlike Manuela, I am holding my breath.
You're holding your breath!
The last time we had a show, in relation to what we're going to speak, it boiled over, it poured in the stove. So I am holding my breath.
I have no idea what she's talking about. We have two guests whom I am honored to introduce. I'll start with the lady on my extreme right, Mercy Munduru. A wonderful bio. Mercy is an African feminist lawyer. She's worked for FIDA, which is Uganda Women Lawyers Association, for 10 years. She's now the head of programs at Action Aid Uganda. Married, Christian, loving wife and mother. She has 3 sons. I'm going to continue with her bio because it's long. This may take half the show. Mercy is the managing director of Onduparaka Football Club in West Nile. I was in Arua and I took a photo by Arua Hill Stadium. Many of the people told me about that football club. Wonderful to know. And proudly a Master of Laws holder in oil and gas. With a degree in law, she has practiced African feminism, changing lives positively, and she's a right person. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mercy.
I'm very honored to be here, and thanks to the good job you're all doing to
Thank
shape
you.
society perceptions and also inform discussions.
Thank you. And Mr. David Kabiswa with the beret, you're welcome to our show today.
Thank you.
David, you'll know why we called you on a show about feminism. You'll know why. You will know why.
I don't know why. I thought it's because I have 3 daughters or something like that.
He has 3 daughters. I'm the one giving your bio. Please don't take away that privilege.
All right.
David has been married for 30 years and has 3 daughters. Proud husband to Helen. And he also engages people in self-development, life skills, equipping youth, both women and men. He runs a Christian marriage counseling service called Ndoa, which in Swahili means marriage. Yes, and he's been doing that for a number of years, changing lives. You'll know why he was the right guest for this.
Yeah. Ndoa changed my marriage.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And here
we were on the verge of divorce. Kabiswa entered in that.
Mr. Kabiswa, good job you're doing there.
Thank you.
I'm Beverley Nambozen Sengyuva. Always happy to be here and share and learn and listen. I'm a poet, I'm a speaker, and today, I am proudly associated with African feminism. That's what you called it? Yes. I'm proud to be on Bump Love, where we engage in meaningful discussions. It's feminism today. That's the topic. Do I need to say it again? It is feminism. Today we're talking about feminism, and there's so many reasons why this is important. I believe we need a re-education, clarity. We also need to appreciate that people come from various thresholds of understanding, various education levels, various cultures. And therefore, instead of attacking people to understand what it means, let's appreciate why they have those views. instead of trying to force people to come into our space of understanding, let's have a conversation, a dialogue. All right? All right? We're not going to hit desks today. We're not going to raise our voices today.
We're not going to look for cameras.
We're not going to look for, of course not. and here's a way to ease us in. On Monday morning, was it Monday morning or Sunday morning, I woke up and my WhatsApp group, my career college, was on fire. I was like, what has happened? Football this, football that, England. I was like, hey, what's happening? What's happening? So I want to know, what, really, I know you own a football club, much respect, but is football worth all the hype? Do we have to spend a full day on our WhatsApp groups on football? Is it worth all the hype? Barbara, what do you think?
I think it is.
Hey. Hey.
I used to do a lot of work for KCCA Football Club.
Ah.
Yeah, so I watched quite a number of matches, yes.
Good.
Munduru Paraka, it's a strong team.
Yes.
Yeah. You know those teams that come from up country and everyone is like, we're going to show them. And at that time, all of you are sitting on the edge of your chest saying, what did this place mean?
Oh,
Anyway,
wow.
yeah.
Good.
So, I think it is worth the hype. It provides entertainment for men. It provides relief for men. You know, men are very stressed. So it provides them relief, entertainment, and it helps them form communities. Yeah. There are many WhatsApp groups that have been formed because of football,
Yes.
you know, fans and what. And yeah, I think it's worth it. It provides entertainment.
I love that.
I think it provides entertainment and also sadness, because Mr. London that day was not kawa. Now I'm there, instead of enjoying my night, to say, honey, I'm so sorry, but now the men in England don't know him. They don't care about him.
Are you sure? They don't know him?
They don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
But Mr. London is here so sad. Why would England lose? Then I'm asking him, I'm sorry, so what? Why did you want England to know? Because Spain it's a 4-time winner. They needed this. Then you see men crying. And now, I feel like if you're crying, like, let it be like a really emotional thing. Like, this man can't cry for their life outside of football. He can't cry bad because they lose. Tears. He's collecting himself. I'm just like, how do we handle? It was supposed to be entertainment. Yes. How did we get into tears?
So isn't that entertainment?
For
if he
who
cries
though?
or whatever, entertainment is up and down, emotions going up and, yeah.
I just like people crying when they're watching the soaps.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, no, but usually our soaps end, we know how it's going to end. Like, we know that the boy, the someone died, the boy, and they'll live happily ever after. But football, there is no happily ever after. Not, especially when you're going for the finals. So I just feel like it's too much pressure, and I also can't. I was going to say something, but let me keep quiet. Just
David, is football worth all the hype?
Football is definitely worth all the hype. In fact, football, rugby, hockey, basketball, any sports that tap into somebody's testosterone, gives it an outlet of the testosterone. And you know, by masculinity, by nature, is very competitive. So there's always that. I like the fact that Manuela said, you know, you don't know how it's going to end. That's exactly the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. You know, if you know the star is going to, amazingly, even if you're doing sometimes a rematch, the same emotions might be, you know, tuned in and tuned out.
When you're watching highlights.
Yes. When you're watching highlights, you're at the edge of your chair. But definitely it's worth it. And yeah, that's what makes men men. Yeah,
good. MD of Onduparaka. Mercy. It's football.
But
What's the hype?
I think football is even underrated. I think it is underrated because what would the world be without football? No, football is one of those gels. It's just what gels society together. Yeah. And over time, I've seen more women get into football. Yes. Others organically, others because of moral support.
Yes.
Their children,
Yes.
their spouses and all of
recreational companion.
And
yes.
for me, it's a sense of identity. You know, with football, you have to identify. There's no saying, for me, I'm just. You have to have a side, which is what the world needs. So it's a form of identity. Even while we support teams outside Africa, you can identify an Arsenal fan when you start, and then bringing it back home. It's also a sense of identity. For example, for us on Paraka, from West Nile, is a sense of identity. If I'm just walking on the streets, somebody will greet me in any language from West Nile because I'm wearing a jersey. And it makes them so proud. Whether they are across the world, they feel there is something that brings them together.
Okay.
But also, from an MD perspective, it's employment. We actually have to pay people to play professionally. People who may not have advanced very far with academic education. It brings an appreciation for sports, just like we are getting into the world of creatives and all of that. Sports is a huge economic opportunity for us as a country, but also for young people. It's an alternative.
Talent, different
Okay. Back in the day, they used to say when you're playing football, they'll look at you like a failure. But I can tell you the number of young boys from West Nile who are playing in the continent. One of them scored the lone goal for Uganda the other time in Nambole. That was our former player from the Paraka Football Club. And now he was at KCCA by the time this happened. He would never have crossed those boundaries. Nobody would have heard of Shaban if it were not for football. And he is making more money than many people with degrees and masters.
With degrees and masters.
So yeah, the economy is really built on sports. Most of the sportsmen we admire and women are actually from that region, and so you find that all the money that they make in you know, outside of, for example, the mainstream United States of America, those that would otherwise be underprivileged if you looked at other indicators of the economy are earning big from sports. So it's an alternative. And for me, even if you're making money in another continent, the fact that that money will go back home and, you know, add to the economy makes sense. Makes sense. That we need to do more for sports, just like we're advocating for more in the creative industry.
Mercy, Ngoni,
Muke.
Roughly returned from Arua.
Mati spoke about identity, and I remember when I used to plan the KCCA events and Uganda Cranes, when there was an Onduparaka march, the buses that came from West Nile that day, all were full of fun. We had the stadiums full, we had the pitch full. I think it was a good day for us to make money because we were so sure
that the supporters.
Everybody came to support the boys from home. It was really good. I think your jazz is still sell out.
Right now we don't have any.
They just sell out.
That people even duplicate. People have got to the point
that's
duplicating. But it also shows the demand.
Good. Sell them abroad. Is football worth the hype?
Two
names, Mbappe and Messi. Let me if you watch the World Cup, December 20, may I please stand? Because my husband and I were on tenterhooks. Mbappe scored 2 goals within 2 minutes. Here we were supporting France, and then you have Argentina. I've always been a South American fan, but that day my husband and I were all about France. You people, that tension! WhatsApp groups. So I have a friend who's married to an Argentina in a WhatsApp group. On another side, I have friends who live in France. It was so insane. Is football worth the hype? Is that a question we should be having? Yes and yes.
Yes and yes.
I want to engage more in women's football as well. Both my girls were in a school where they were playing for their team in school, and it was competitive. I was screaming like it was World Cup. That's me. I'm a mother. What game am I playing? Marbles? I will scream for you. Let's do it. Let's do it.
She's like calling it marbles.
All right.
Too much English.
My friends, not too much English, just enough. But let me hear from you. Too much or too little on this topic that is divisive, yet maybe it shouldn't be. From each of you, and any of you may begin. How will you describe this word that has brought so much love? We hate to love and love to hate. How would you describe feminism?
Feminism broadly is really the fight for the social, economic, political rights and opportunities for women and girls. And so when we unpack feminism, probably in our discussions, you realize that most of the conversations are going to center on the social, the political, and the economic. And so all the issues that, you know, rattle us, including in the previous show, belong to any of the 3 blocks. And of course, that one centered more on the social, which is more contentious, because it has lines to traditions, patriarchy, and communal practices, religion, and all of that. Political, it's contested, but you know, it's a very heavy. And then the economy is what is cropping up now. People are interrogating how the economy of the world is built around masculine energies and workforces, and, you know, the attempts to try and balance power relations in the economy in terms of how women are paid, equality in employment, and things like that. As you know, even as in Uganda, if you look at our employment scale, or if you look at the statistics around employment, whereas we have a big number of women and girls who are in that, you know, who are functioning within the economy, payment is still unequal. They're paid less because most of them, even their work in their workspaces, probably serve in lower roles, and sometimes because of how our society is structured, they may not feel confident to step outside certain zones and compete favorably for highly placed, which means highly paid jobs. And so that's the economic, and the political is of course political participation as voters, as, you know, contestants, which in our case we had to fight to have it in the law. Why? Because if again you look at the composition, for example, of our parliament, you realize that for the mainstream seats where you have an MP who is, you know, representing a constituency, you'll find very few women on that ticket in parliament. Most of them are there as women representatives, which is a reserve for women. So you remove that and you tell me how many women are in parliament on straight tickets, right? So part of that was really to challenge power structures around politics. I'm just using Uganda because this is a familiar context. It's our home, it's where we are. And so feminism exists to challenge those unequal power relations along those lines. That you look at a power structure like politics, and you see where the inequalities are, advocate for policies, practices that promote the equal participation of women and men, girls and boys. Otherwise, if you do not advocate and take it for granted that anybody can run for this position, they cannot. Because the time a woman must take to go and campaign could be the time they reserve for taking care of their family, or probably they have to do other care work. So they may not favorably even compete or think about it because they don't have that luxury of time, because the expectations attached to them. So feminism exists to challenge those powers. And it has a long history that I may not talk about on the show, but I can only say that it came from the fact that women were traditionally domesticated. That means a lot of their role was resigned to the domestic space. And the public space was a reserve for the men. And so women walked out of that to start and fight to create space for women to participate in the public sphere. So that participation is again around those blocks. And over time that has changed for different contexts. In the Western world, probably they have made more strides than we have, but I can also say we've come a very long way.
I like to look at feminism as equal opportunities for both men and women, but more in terms of equity. Look at capabilities. Look at all the other things that surround the sex. There are things we can't run away from. So my example would be like, can we all be engineers? Can we have both men and women as engineers? However, can we put into consideration things like on site, there will be times when the woman needs to sit. She's pregnant, she's supervising site. Do you cater for those things? She will go off work earlier than the men because she still has responsibilities. The women are nurturers. When she's absent from home, the home is in a mess because she's not there. So it's equal opportunities, but can we look more at equity? How do we balance? I cannot stand on the same height of a stool to adjust that bulb as David. David probably doesn't even need to. He probably needs to just do this. Yes. So if we walk...
That's height, not gender. But
I mean, really, yes. Yeah. So can we provide the opportunities based on capabilities?
I think you raised an interesting question there. And she's talked well about the definition of feminism. In fact,
See how carefully he qualified that.
The thing is that she has given the neutral element of feminism, all right? And also when I went and I was looking up the whole subject of feminism, that's exactly what it does. I've got challenges when you say fight. The moment you use the word fight, it means that it's going to be adversarial, it's going to be aggressive. And I think when the media picks it up and, and why some people think that feminism has been misrepresented is that the element of fighting, all right? Now, one of the things that, you know, they bring all this patriarchy and stuff like that, we've got to understand the sociology of societies. They became primitive, and then they started changing, and each society has its box. How it defines its roles, how it defines its things, and that's how it gets meaning, all right? Like when you go, Uganda goes to you know, to Mbale, he's got his box, she's got her box, and might do some things that they feel are acceptable, and then they find them that they're not acceptable on the other side, all right? So sometimes just the whole element of the transition of society, we will change. Now, when you look at this thing of feminism, when I went to look at it, I was very surprised. There are 4 waves. 4! Yes. Yes. And then something started in the 20s, and then that's what the women in the whites were trying to get out of the homes into the workplace. Then another wave came, you know, it started independence. Then wave 3 came. Then wave 4 is being brought about a lot because of issues of digital, you know. So for me, anything which is a wave like that means that the priority is activism, and you're not getting down to the principles. So for me, my challenge with feminism is fight. Now, look at some articles, they say, academic articles, that the feminist movement, really, feminism went down like they say 1990s. Ironically, that's also around the time of the Beijing. So it seemed to have...
Take our viewers slowly.
Yes.
Beijing, what's
Women's
going on?
Conference. There's a Beijing Women's Conference which shook the nation here. And shaking it in the sense that it brought a certain sense of consciousness. Women felt more empowered. They felt that they're going to do all sorts of things, all right? I was working in public health area, HIV, AIDS, so, you know, would keep tracking and following. Then another conference came, and it was low-key, not as big as down in China. And what we heard about that conference is that the white women, and I want you to know, a lot of feminism is driven by privileged white women. In fact, some of the challenges it has received is that as elitist, because anybody talking about housewives meant that you've got your certain social status, all right? And so when you get these branches and you go online, I dare you, African feminism, Marxist feminism, you know, there's so many colonial, post-colonial, and then now it's postmodern. And the postmodern has even actually come to the point of trying to say that as long as a woman has choice over, it's about individuality, it's about ownership of her body. And so like where you see where the West is going, so they're kind of downplaying it now, because if I can enjoy my body, do what I want with my body, when I want to do with my body, I've got a choice. The elements she's saying would almost make Africa look like it is in wave 1, according to that thing of long ago. We're in wave 1. But the interesting thing is that we've got wave 1, those people struggling for a place there. Uganda for a long time was also praised for the number of women politicians, whichever policies we had. So we're almost in wave 3 now, because we've jumped some stages. Rwanda, I think, is equally doing well. So, and then there's some cultures, maybe like in the Arabian stuff like that, which according to our box might look like they're not doing well. But according to their box, do they think they're doing well? So for me, the issue of feminism, good subject to discuss. The objectives seem good, the language is not good.
Powerful submissions. So I stand on the thought that the reason feminism came up was because women were dying emotionally, physically, economically, socially. They were dying. I believe that there came a time when women sought to go out and find their full potential outside of their home and outside of their family. And for me, I'm going to smile because I'm going to bring the Bible. The Proverbs 31 woman is the woman women sought to be. They sought to be able to take care of their homes, take care of their families, but also find their potential outside of their home. They can trade, they can engage with merchants, they can bring in wealth, but they can also go home and sew a cloth for their son or their daughter. They can make investment. They go out, make investment, and come back and bring honor to their husbands. So for me, when I heard of feminism, my heart warmed up because I finally could now understand who the Proverbs 31 woman was, because I didn't know her. She didn't exist. She was there in the Bible, but where was she in real life? Like, you wouldn't find women buying land. You wouldn't find proud men talking about their wives and how accomplished she praises her in the gates, or how her children stand up for her. Like, it didn't exist. I started to see it when you'd hear people like Miriam Matembe, and that time, I mean, for us, it was just, I was like a little girl looking at the TV, like at this woman speak up, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can speak. Like, there's somewhere where I can, because I'm those people who, I truly look out the window. Like, I have a beautiful home, but I look out the window for what else exists outside the four walls of this beautiful space called my home. So for me, that's what feminism is.
That's powerful. I like the Proverbs 31, and I like that the interpretations are becoming more real and more relatable, because a woman is capable of so much. In 2007, I visited Tanzania for a gender networking program. And that's where I met women from all over the continent who identified as feminists. I'd never seen so many or ever seen the word repeated in so much in one space. And that's when I understood that actually they do want to come to terms with women being provided opportunities to equal education, that they do want to address that women should be given the right to vote in places where they're not. They want to challenge the fact that girls are being sent to marriage at the age of 12. And that's why we have Malala from Pakistan, who risked her life to fight for girls to go into school. She's just fighting for girls to go to school in her country. She was shot for that, won the Nobel Peace Prize. Now she's 27 years old. That's when I began to understand Honorable Celia Ogwal. I had a chat with her before she died. And when she talked about the struggles she went through to be recognized, brilliant in maths, but not given as equal opportunity because she was a girl. Brilliant. Now, if the doors had not been opened by those before her, like Honorable Joyce Mpanga, where would the rest of us be? And for me, that's what feminism is. For people like her who walked the path and said, as a girl, I am being denied, even though I'm brilliant in maths, just because I am. And then she had to go through one struggle after another. But because of those struggles, she was made a member of parliament. Because of that, people like me was invited into her house to have a great discussion. Because of her, the time of her death, the whole nation cried. Both who supported her politically and those who did not, because a woman of substance had passed away. They cried because they were going to miss the journey of success, the journey where she had planted so much for other women. We are eating life and thriving because women like her dared to. And because like women before her opened the gate. And for me, that's what feminism is. I touched the hearts of those who had walked and who understood, and those who said, this is why. We will cry, we will do what, but this is why. It is right that women and girls are given an opportunity, which is why Malala was shot. She said, girls need to go to school. I will be shot for it, but you know what? Girls need to go to school. And that's what feminism is. Yeah.
It was on a silver platter. Yeah. Somebody had to pay a price. There were women who were killed in very many contexts, including the West, because they dared to challenge power. Power is a very, it's a very rogue thing. You dare challenge it, the way it fights back could even cost you your life. And whereas today we have made progress, somewhere somebody is just fighting to have a society that recognizes them. Recognizes them. And so the concept of equality and equity are both important. Equality in the sense that just as human beings, we should enjoy equal rights. When you look at the Constitution in its entirety, all the rights therein are for everybody, regardless of who you are. That whether you're a woman, a girl, a child, as human beings, we are equal and must be treated as such. But many times we choose the definition of equality in our conversations to mean that, you know, it's simply who is above the other. But when you look at equality from a rights perspective, that we all should be protected, our rights should be promoted, we must all be provided for as human beings, and then the equity that was, earlier described, that even while we have these equal rights, there may be need to put a platform for us to live at that place of equality. And I think it's important to emphasize that we've come here, but there are people who are still in the first wave because they're coming, even in Uganda. Yes, we've made progress, but somewhere across this country, in a certain village, there are people who do not know that these laws and what exists. They do not know that right now there are women who can do this or do that because they are still in that confinement where they believe, if I start seeing the breast
confinement, they're still in the box that defines their reality.
So one of my challenges, I do have some challenges, obviously, with feminism, or where it's now going, because there's a big, I feel there's a big push for women to be men and men to be
Kabiswa says there are 20 types of feminism.
Yes. I don't know, but you see the problem, the bad thing.
I can list them for you.
The bad thing is one rotten tomato does what?
Spoils the whole batch.
Spoils the spoils the entire batch. So you have this one person who in their minds, she's become a man.
Yeah.
And for me, while I am big on us having equal opportunities and equal rights, we are such different sexes. There are things that a man can do that certain women can do, but they don't have to. That's how I feel.
Okay.
I would like to be in a place where I can change that bulb.
Yes.
But I don't have to.
Yes.
Because David is here.
Yes.
Change the bulb. David, can you change the bulb?
But
can you change the car?
I like that. I like that whole
tire.
point. So it's complementarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that we're not the same. Because when I have a dress on and my car has an issue and I go to change my tire, I might tear my dress. So can I just be there?
Oh, that dress might not allow you to
that
then kneel
dress might
down.
not allow me. Yes, not to bend. Because I have put on this kind of dress, it's like for mercy. If I dare bend like this, the dress is dirty.
Yeah.
But Mr. Kabiswa is there. He can change the tire and he's very comfortable. So I want to be able to change the tire.
Yeah.
I can be taught to change the tire. And I can change the tire in a huge emergency where I'll collect the dress, put it up here.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, you will not stop me from changing this tire because I don't have somebody around.
Yeah.
But Mr. Kabiswa is built to change a tire.
Be very careful what you say there. And that's the challenge of the feminist debate, I think, all right?
Yeah.
You asked a very nice question about equality. I think maybe we should have ability to access what we want to access without being discriminated against.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I discovered, researching some of this subject is that the scholars think something else, the NGO workers think, so they're up there, and then the media and the popular, even they'll tell you popular media has painted a certain picture.
That's true.
Okay? And I think what you talk about, the popular media has also painted the picture that equal means what you can do, I can do. There's a show you had, and they talked about alpha male and beta male, all right? And one of those things meant that there's some characteristics that are masculine, all right? And they should not be overboard. I take care, I provide, I protect, I lead the way, all right? Then in the family, I'm also, concerned about the general direction of where the family is going, who is doing this, and their well-being. Now, the beta male, BETA, like in the alphabet, is the one that a bit of it has come because of feminism. They're getting a little bit confused. You must be compassionate. You must be feeling. You must do this. So, getting into that box, and the beauty about a box is not necessarily constraint. It allows you to read the world and also interpret the messages that you're getting. All right? A Mugisu knows how to interpret. A Muganda knows how to interpret. If you're not circumcised, we know how to interpret. And there are those sorts of definitions. What age for marriage, and if there's anything that cultures that are training men well, it's some of those circumcision cultures because they go through a process, Others will just happen. All right? So even when we, feminism, I think sometimes even the language we choose, they are constrained according to who? According to who? If that has been your worldview, you can, she used another word which I liked, conversations. Have conversations, not fights. Yes. The moment you have conversations, you allow somebody to grow into a new state of being. I used to be like this, but now I can grow into this state of being. The moment you say fight, you mean I demand. What you can do, one time they're demanding that about female payment in World Cup. They demanded we must be paid the same amount as men. And then somebody said, it's economics. It's the crowds which determine the amount of money. It's economics. It had nothing to do with gender. And but these people said, they're getting how much? I must get that. Where is the crowd which is going to watch you so that you can get the money to pay? Now, when you come from a combative approach, you just demand. When you come from a conversational approach, you're saying, all right, so how do we work? How do we increase the crowds that watch feminine football? Yeah. So that we can increase her pay? Yeah. You know, Wimbledon, equal. How many things do you play? 5 sets. How many do the others play? 3 sets. Yeah, but because it's a human, you must give us 4 less, you know, even from economics doesn't make sense. How much do you want? 10,000 for this sack of rice. I take this half kilo, 10,000. Because, all right? Now, rice. And I think that the NGO movement also, I think, has a little bit to blame here, in a sense that we create entitlement in our populations and where we work with people. We introduce those concepts, we introduce entitlements. The concepts, when you read them, what they're all about, these are concepts that have been there from long ago. The Kabaka, we have a Kabaka. The primary role of a Kabaka is the well-being of his people. Technically, in the home, the primary role of a husband should be the well-being of their family. But everything that happens in life gets abused. This thing gets abused, the guy abuses it, and then you define that as reality. Toxic masculinity, because that is just somebody who's gone off. You know? Yeah. Postmodernism, for me that post-feminism, it got me, and by the way, you're asking about, you're asking me, I can tell you a few things that you come across on the internet. Mainstream, all right? Feminism. Liberal feminism. Specialists, socialist / Marxist feminism. Post-colonial, feminism. Post-structural, feminism. Postmodern feminism. Radical and that militant feminism. Separatist feminism. Anarchist feminism. Black and womanist feminism. Cultural feminism. Ecofeminism. The thing goes on. And once any concept goes that far, to me, I drop it. It's just saying that everybody, I drop the concept of feminism, the way it is paraded. But about, like you quoted the Bible. If people just went by this thing, love thy neighbor as thyself, all right? These 3 remain. Faith, hope, love, and the greatest of these is love. If you practice that, would then they call you a feminist?
But you'll challenge that people don't practice it, which is why these things arise. Yeah. They have not practiced it, which is why the idea of feminism was necessary, because it clearly wasn't practiced. You cannot say you love a girl and you're sending her off to marriage at the age of 10. That is not love.
No. Wait a minute.
No, I'm just saying that is why the issues of feminism arose. Not to fight. Not to fight. I mean, you have to agree that culturally there's some things that are just bizarre and unacceptable. We will not allow girls to be married 9,
no, wait
10,
a minute.
11
no, let's
to
be
7
careful
men.
there. Let's be careful there.
Yeah.
I was involved in HIV/AIDS programming many years ago.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened is that there are certain religious beliefs which do not allow a woman to menstruate in her father's home. Okay? So what was happening is that now these girls were being given up to marriage. I'm not going to mention the religion because, that was what was happening. What these people did not ask themselves of, was this practice? At what age were women menstruating? In the past, it would be 16, 17, 18. Now, because of feeding, people are doing at 9. And you dare not. And when we come and start saying that is unacceptable, that's an elitist, arrogant position we take as educated people.
So
I
people
will
should
tell
be married
you.
at 11?
No. Wait.
Yes.
We understand their society and help them move. That's what they did with, let's take Mbali. I worked there, so I'm not from there, but I worked there. They had this issue of one circumcision knife for everybody. Yes. It took them 3 years to negotiate with the people. 3. And the people moved. Now, you know, militant approaches are, I want it now and I get it now. The challenge with those sorts of approaches, they don't have the social structures, the behavior structures to support it. The laws can change, and the laws have changed. For example, they did this thing of Makerere. You know, there's now a crisis. Too many women lawyers, a guy walks in class, you know, it's full of women. He's saying, what's happened to the men? But if you've put there a 1.5 because of advocacy, you put a 1.5, and you did not say for how long. You dare go to parliament and not repeat, you will get it on the streets here. So where are we going? And then now they're saying, think about the boy child, men are getting very feminized or insecure in their homes, and they know they've got the body. You will do whatever, I'll beat you. You get all the opportunity. But we are creating a society, and that's the challenge of activism. You take one element, like the various things I read for you. They're just taking an element. These ones, the black things, because the white people are only focusing on what they call their problems. These are the guys, everybody comes with their problems. The principle is love thy neighbor.
Yes.
Period.
But do we agree people are not loving thy neighbor?
So when they don't love their neighbor, you go militant?
No,
educated?
you're asserting that it is militant, but it's not. You're asserting that just because I said this is a challenge, it's militant.
If you read it up, it is militant.
Yeah.
Call for different methods.
Yeah.
But
Our justice system promotes alternative dispute resolution.
Yes.
And it also promotes punitive actions like sending somebody to prison.
No, but that's a good point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you that we cannot demonize one mechanism
over another. But I'll ask a
Because
question.
there are circumstances that will call for a fight.
Yeah.
For example,
Yes.
when I used to handle, domestic violence issues, there are situations where, honestly, somebody has to be in
and then they'll say you're militant. No.
Where I would know this through alternative dispute resolution, they will come
can
to
be
an
resolved.
understanding, and we are going to resolve
Yeah,
this
yeah,
matter.
yeah,
And so I cannot say that alternative dispute resolution is the way to go, or prisons are the way to go. The circumstances vary. And that's the same thing about feminism. I've had conversations with you here on this show, and you can have the same conversations with somebody else, and they could be different. And for me, I think in all of this, we need to accept one thing, that these are all issues of mindset, how we choose to interpret things. The different things you're reading as types of feminism are not types per se. If you read through them, they are waves. That means that the world has shifted from the 20th century when these movements began to where we are today. And it's the acknowledgement that inequalities vary. My inequality as an African woman or a Ugandan woman may be different from somebody, another woman in Peru or in an Islamic country. And so that means that in this way where we have moved to the fact that now we can be in parliament, now we can work, now a woman can take up an engineering job, means that there is a phase after the 1995 constitution, certain things changed. That is when we got affirmative action, so girls could get, an added advantage to continue with their education. That women could get a seat in parliament. That is cast in stone. That is the place of women.
And it's not being militant.
It's not being militant.
For how long?
Because guess what? Guess what? There is a caveat. There is a percentage. That is cast in stone. That percentage is so small.
The percentage of.
I mean Ugandan women representatives in parliament.
Precisely.
Is
Compared
it still the same?
Compared to the number of constituencies we have.
Yeah.
We have 500
but
MPs.
isn't that
What
the
is
problem?
the percentage?
So it's competition?
It is that you remove that. How many women will be in parliament?
No.
But I think do you understand?
I understand.
I never want to discuss
I understand.
affirmative action because we need it. Why do we need it? Is that if you took that out, I just use always the example of parliament, because we believe that because we are now in this stage where we are, all is well.
Everything is well,
so much that we have moved. I can tell you, me who is sitting here, I still experience inequalities. They may not look like those for another woman, but I do. I cannot tell you because I'm a feminist.
But they're not systemic, right?
They are systemic because they come from systems of oppression. It can be, for example, I'm a new mother. I'm expected to compete at the job with a man, even if I breastfed all night. or my baby is sick, I'm expected to show up to work at that time.
Yes.
Not many workspaces acknowledge that my child can be sick.
Yeah.
Equity,
Yeah.
right? They don't accept that.
That is equity.
Yeah.
To this day, they do not.
Yeah.
And so it would be wrong to assume that because Mercy is exposed, she's a lawyer, she cannot be subject to a system like that. I will go to the private sector, get a job somewhere where they don't have any policies that support me breastfeeding in a workspace. Meaning that I have to stop breastfeeding my child at 2 months or 3 months,
Yes.
I'm back at work.
Yeah.
I cannot ask for a day off.
Yeah.
While certain organizations have moved,
Yeah.
they have established nurseries. They've done certain things to ensure they create a conducive environment for women. So we can never say we've done enough. When
Yeah.
we know that even until
Yes.
now,
Yeah.
we are still living in oppressive systems. And I say this, that the fight for equality is not a fight of women against men.
No.
And I do not ever like to have conversations about women and men.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is that society changes.
Yeah.
Traditions change,
Yeah.
practices change,
Yeah.
mindsets change.
Yeah.
But the fact that even in a changing
Yeah.
reality,
Yeah.
I want to hold on to something and impose it perhaps on another person, even when I know that within that context it is the wrong thing. And when we call it the wrong thing, it is a problem. For me, that is where the problem is. Because people expect, for example, and I think it from what you say, that when we push back on certain things, we are being too harsh.
Yeah.
That I should not say that defilement is bad, because that is another
They'll say
person's
we
reality.
have
Because
that.
By the way, no.
you say that because you say
No.
that is another person's reality.
Let me tell
and
you.
the way we should
No. You'll be taking it a different. You've taken it to the extreme. You see, every society has their norms and taboos, and very many of them have those sexual taboos. All right. Can I tell another story? When there was HIV/AIDS, when they're discussing female genital mutilation, the labia elongation came up, and they stood up and told somebody, you had better shut up because that's not your culture. All right? That's the box. All right? That's how they give their kind of reality. But those same people have their rules about taboos. Let's go back to Mbali. That's the one way. In the even period, they've got kind of lax sexual taboos. All right? Or there's permissiveness. In the odd years, the things are tighter.
Just qualify that. He's meaning that every even year in Mbale,
when there's
I come
circumcision.
from Eastern Uganda, there's circumcision, Kadodi. Every even year. During those celebrations, there is promiscuity sexually that is permissible, so to speak. There's dancing all through the night. All through the night, girls and boys are dancing. And quote unquote, it is permissible. I say quote unquote because there are different layers which I don't have information towards, but generally it is.
And the person from Central had better not stand up and judge until they've understood. So I'm not saying defilement is acceptable. Let's go to Kopchora here. When they even had a minister on top of this thing, she had not gone through circumcision, and they used UNFPA, used her as a champion. It didn't work. You change a people inside out. The problem with things like feminism, you're outside in. Do what it is inside out. And one of the challenges I find in these sorts of, you don't want it to be men versus women, but that's how the society takes it. Nobody paints a picture of it could be like this. Because there's nobody who would refuse to go towards an image which has been painted and it looks a better reality. We don't paint the reality. We don't paint the reality.
I would like to appreciate what you've said. However, feminism did originate from inside out. When you say outside in, it's as if people said, I think we should do this. No,
it did not.
Please, let me explain why. It was inside out because women were experiencing these. I mentioned Honorable Joyce Mpango, Honorable Celia Gwala. I don't want to go into that again. But these people lived the walk where they were not given privileges because they were girls. Are you trying to tell me that they were from a place of arrogance?
Let me clarify what I mean by inside out.
May I please continue before you? And so inside out means they were actually experiencing it. However, from feminism, which started from the Western world, it came from their experiences. That is why today we're like, how do we make it more cultural and relatable? And that's why the term African feminism came in. And that's why she identifies as an African feminist Christian lawyer. Is that MD of anyway, that's but that's what
because I get the feeling I didn't clarify it well.
Yes, please, yes.
Inside out means that if there's a system which has been designed, like in some of these feminisms, you'll say it is about men and stuff like that, you get the men to realize what's happening there. You get the powers that can change the systems to think about the system, not to be pressured to think about this. That's what I call inside out. I'm not saying that Joyce Mpanga and whatever did it. No, they had their experience. Rosa Parks had that experience. But the people responsible for some of these systems need to be changed by being pointed to a better reality.
The fact that we have male allies today is a testimony to the fact that there are men who have taken time to appreciate the concepts we are talking about and found value in it. And
that's inside out.
In one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I know that took a process.
That's inside out.
I know that there are civil society organizations. I worked for.
Wait, is that inside out?
That's inside out. That's inside out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That it's very wrong and erroneous to say that feminism takes one approach. And like I said, in a battlefront, you have different approaches. There are situations that call for a fight. There are situations that call for different things. And I know that for certain things we have achieved thus far, there have been negotiations. There have been deliberate capacity building. I worked for an organization where they asked us to talk to our spouses and they wanted to have a 1 week training for them, right? So we did, and they went, and there was a man who is a professor, a very good professor in Makerere, and they went away and they had a whole week of discussions and they were trained. And I remember when my husband came back, we had a conversation and he told me, I thought I knew these things, but it was very different. And he said that I just realized, oh my God, what you people go through at work, that I need to appreciate where I can support you, especially emotionally, and making sure that you have a balance and appreciate certain things you do. And it took that sitting.
That's inside out.
And there were men who actually said, you know what?
That's inside out.
So you see,
there's a situation that warrants you to be extremely assertive. I'll talk about a situation that Professor Sylvia Tamale was a part of, and that was addressing the rampant rape of female students at Makerere University. You will not tell me that when I come, don't be confrontational. Discuss it. Discuss what? When you're raping girls. Yes, so let me continue and say, so what she's saying is that when people approach this, things like this, and they say, listen, we have to put an end to it. Let's understand, as she said, there are different battlefronts. Some cause for conversations, but situations like that where women are constantly being raped, no conversation. And so what happened is that it was in the papers maybe 3 years ago where actually she was applauded with others. I'm sure there were men as well in that situation who said, listen, there is a law now in place where there will be extreme measures for perpetrators of rape. The re-education of feminism cannot be discussed in an hour. However, let's appreciate that there are spaces we can go and have these discussions and understand and appreciate where it came from. At the same time, where we find challenges, we can also have conversations about that. Don't fight and say, no, 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 no. There are 50 types of feminism. Yes, let's have a conversation. What is your challenge with the 50 types? You don't want to be attacked, but you want to attack. Please, let's have the conversation. In the same way you think that women were confrontational, are you going to respond in the same way? Let's have the conversation. That's where we will grow. You see, I don't believe in attacking people either. I don't. The moment you force someone into your will, when people force me, you must be like this, I will not. If you give me ideas and say, how about this? Then that's a long-term solution. That's what I think. So the conversation continues. It will continue even after here. David, you're going to call me tomorrow with my husband. You're going to come home and we have tea and finish this discussion. I know that. You see?
These guys are going to be
together. We're going to finish. And that's good. That's what I want. You come home.
But you know what's interesting is that you guys are saying exactly the same thing. For us who are here on this, we're like, my friends, we're saying the exact same thing, because he's saying that when you come you come from a place of confrontation.
Yes.
Any human being,
of course, will
come up
resist
with a wall
immediately.
They don't need to be male. They don't need to be female.
Just human.
Even a dog, even a sheep. As long as you come,
Simba, come here now. You say.
As long as you come like that, they will come back at you. No one is attacked, and they stay.
And they stay. Oh, I love being attacked.
I love being attacked. So what I feel is happening with the movement, and such
Yeah.
a beautiful, I mean, I've told
Yeah.
you, I'm all
The
for
foundation
feminism.
was, yes.
I'm all for positive feminism.
Yes.
Because pardon?
She's introducing
No,
something
different. Yes, I'm coming. I'm all for positive feminism.
51.
What do I mean by what do I mean by positive? What do I mean by positive feminism? I mean a feminism where all of us are just happy to do it.
Yes.
Where a man is happy, extremely happy, he sees his daughter and he wants to be an ally. And she refuses to say, I still need to know why. But we are coming there. Why we can't have no feminists. But a man who has a daughter will be like, absolutely.
Yes.
But men who have daughters are fighting it. How? How accept that? Yes, and like Mr. Kabiswa. How accept that it came at him
Attacking.
like that? And like she had said earlier, it's because there's an attack on power. Immediately there's if a sheep comes
Power
at another
relations.
sheep and fights it, there will be an equal force.
Like territorial.
Now imagine
yes.
power. You do that to power. So we really do have to be very clever about how we fight
Yes.
for the rights of women.
How
we
an alternative word
advocate.
to fight?
Actually, I'm looking
An
for another
alternative
word
to
for
fight.
fight.
Advocate.
Engage. How can we
engage? Yes.
Yeah. For women's
Yes.
rights.
Yes.
How can we introduce? How
Yes.
can we for women?
Yes.
Because I truly believe most men want it for their women. I believe
Yeah.
most men, given the education of it, will want
Excuse
it.
me.
Except the bad men, because again there
They
are
exist.
bad men as much as there are bad women. You understand what I mean? So if we can, if that majority, we have a good majority of men
Who actually
if it came at them in a certain way, they would completely.
If they were
switch up.
invited
Because
into the room.
Unfortunately, this thing that's so beautiful like feminism has been put on an altar and has been
the misconceptions
it has
have
been misconstrued.
Yes.
David spoke about time and the impatience. As feminists, we want it and we want it now. But what we're doing is changing a whole culture.
A
that
whole
has been on
culture.
for centuries.
It's like turning a ship.
And, I mean,
Yeah.
the entire time that we've been alive.
All of our lives.
All of our lives,
Yeah, yeah.
yes. So if you want to change a culture, you've got to be patient. You've got to give it time.
Yeah. And you've got to be consistent at changing it.
Yes.
Keep on
Whereas
keep,
there will
yeah.
be situations that, please, there's no time.
Yeah, correct.
We must address it and address it immediately.
Yeah.
The entirety of it,
Yeah.
we have to accept.
Yeah.
Movements take time.
Yep.
You build the
Yep.
momentum as you move.
Yep.
Gather, and move.
Yep.
Yeah.
And successful movements take
Yep.
Successful movements take time.
Yeah.
But
So over time,
we consider what can wait and what cannot wait.
Yeah.
Female
But you cannot draw a movement on a crisis. Like the example she's giving at Makerere, that cannot generate a crisis. That needs a solution.
Now.
And then you need to know what has been pushing the men to rape the girls. The law doesn't help. Because, as I told us in HIV/AIDS, you put a law, things go underground. You go to schools, you're measuring things like pregnancy, and then pregnancy could disappear because of use of condoms.
Yes.
But the practice is
but
going
the
on.
defilement is still happening.
Exactly. So what, in that example, it's good, that is crisis, and nobody's condoning that crises should be handled through conversation. They need action, but you must, that the inside out means go deeper. Why are lecturers taking advantage of the girls? Why are boys
Sometimes
taking
it's the girls
advantage?
taking advantage of the lecturers. by the way.
Yeah. I went somewhere and we had
Yes.
girls who say, I don't know how to do anything. What does it take to get the marks and to
Yes.
pass?
I've also spoken to a lecturer. He showed me a message from a girl and he said, this one wants something.
Yeah, she's got a question, but
Yes,
I
do
don't
have a
want.
question.
Yes, yes, and also I want even me. I want a question here.
You're holding.
The whole issue of what they call toxic femininity.
Or feminism.
Yeah, toxic feminism. But just on that thing of feminism, the literature shows that they're actually male feminists. All right? No, I'm just saying the literature, because me, I'm not a feminist. So when you asked me to do this thing, I went and I delved. All right? The literature is also showing that feminism is on the out. I'm telling you Now, what I'm saying, because of postmodernism, where the issue of choice has come in, and people are feeling I've got a right over my body, meaning I can have sexual, some of them, I choose my partner, I do whatever.
The
I can have
about it.
sexual liberties, which were taboos in whatever. Now they no longer feel that they need the younger generation in the in the Western world doesn't feel like it needs feminism, all right? Yeah. Going back, we read the stuff and that's what's happening, all right? Okay? Because they think I'm in charge of my body, you get these young people, they've got the money, they can choose whether to get married or not. Inwardly, some of them still want to get married, but because, they're new personas. Now, these are academic people writing, not, those guys, they blame the press. Then they blame the press for that has bad-mouthed, whatever. Now, that change, it is inside out. The society has changed.
I'm asking generally, what's your opinion of that, what you described? Do you believe that's outside, inside out, when you talk about the younger generation?
What I believe is this, that you can start a good movement,
yes.
But once you start a movement, you've got no control. Once the thing gets into motion, you've got no control of what is going to happen. Yes. And that's the problem of any movement. Mm-hmm. That you put in place a certain mechanism, and then later it's the mechanism driving you. Mm-hmm. That the thing has driven them. The black, the literature, she's an expert, but the literature shows the black feminism came because they said you are not representing our rights, and a lot of your things are elitist, so they had to do their thing. Then there are issues, the post-colonial, it might be like you have religions, but you see all these things gets out there into the literature, and somebody maybe is not a feminist, an expert, might not be able to distinguish. Now, what is the person on the street going to, they're going to take the one that the media has said. I'll tell you, when I read about the thing like what they call toxic femininity, I was shocked.
Of feminism, which one?
Toxic feminism. They say these are the people, women who emphasize feminine roles. All right? Yeah. And they've got, that's what they said. And I said, because last week when you guys are talking about toxic masculinity, it was anger, violence, So I thought there were some of those things. Toxic feminism is women who subscribe to the feelings of long ago. I said, okay.
Oh, you remember what I told you?
I said, okay.
Yes.
So,
be a woman, respect a man, kneel down. So in the literature, now that's toxic.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
So now, when a woman is growing up, who should she be?
Yeah, because now
if you're going to play in that box,
toxic.
What's the opposite? Detox.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You okay?
Yes.
I'm just sitting here and listening to this. I've given it as much time, and I've lost some of the conversation. But I have had the discussions that we are having. I try to stay away from academic conversations on feminism, because for anything, if I start to discuss academic feminism, the people that are watching this, judging from the conversations I saw online, will get lost even more. When this space is supposed to be a build-up and provide clarity at the level at which people can understand the concepts. Not to say academic is bad, but it is also that this show cannot educate somebody in this way entirely on feminism.
Yes.
So to start that and leave it along the way will be doing a
disservice. Yeah.
But to speak about it and relate it to some of the examples that we're speaking about, I think for me is the most important part of this conversation. To say that, one, like I said, we have male allies, and I do not believe, and I'll say this confidently, that they are male feminists. But we have male allies who will go to the battlefront with women on women's issues. And feminism in itself, from the definition we made, is not a toxic thing.
Correct.
It is not.
Correct.
Even the waves and different people within the feminist movement exercise choice. Choice is a big thing in feminism. That we are sitting here, but we are women. We are not a homogeneous group. We are different even while we sit here. We exercise different forms of power and privileges, even while sitting here. The privileges I have as a guest are different from the host, are different from the producer, are different from different kinds of people that we're sitting with in the room. And that's not a bad thing. I should allow each one of you to exercise their privilege and their choice to
be different. Yeah.
So as an African woman, whether I choose to exercise my feminism or challenge my power structures in a certain way that relates to my context, somebody, a feminist from another part, is not going to say Mercy is bad because she is exercising, she's dismantling power a certain way. They allow you to choose how you want to exercise that. There are women who choose not to have children, for example. But you'll find in Africa that's a big value for most women. But you're not going to say that African woman is bad because they have chosen to. Neither will I say the one who has chosen not to is bad. That's their value system. I must allow them to exercise that choice. Now, when people, I don't believe that there's such thing as toxic feminism, because feminism in itself is not a toxic concept.
Correct.
On the other hand, when I speak about patriarchy as a system, and patriarchy is not a man,
it's a
patriarchy
system.
is a system that centers
around
the male dominion, and so profiles it as having ultimate power. And it's a system exercised by both men and women. There are women who center patriarchy and who operate from that dimension.
That's the
and
box.
Our fight is against that system, a system that subjugates women, that indignifies women. That is why I always say people who hide behind culture are doing a disservice to culture. Not all cultures and traditions are bad.
Correct.
There are aspects of culture that promote mutual respect, that are not harmful in any way. But there are aspects of culture that are harmful. We talked about child marriages. We talked about female genital mutilation. That time has shifted. We cannot say that's a good practice. It is bad because it can expose somebody to danger, and somebody can actually bleed to death given how it is. Maybe people have been seeing people dying, but they didn't think that it is because of that. Or women dying and giving birth, and they'll say that as a woman, you are not brave enough to push that baby. Yet actually you may have gotten a complication when you are being circumcised. Now what this does is to open their mind to see, oh, that means this is why this is happening. And they start to consider to drop that that practice.
Correct.
So because feminism is fighting against oppressive system, that system will fight back. And anybody that embodies that system, whether it's a woman or a man, will fight back. And part of the fight back is these labels they give us. Feminists are toxic. Feminists are this. That is power fighting back. Another person will not say one word. When there were conversations going on the space, there was a gentleman on Twitter whose wife is also on Twitter, and somebody gave an example of something he had done the previous week and said, imagine this man coming back home and his wife does not serve him food or expects him to do anything in the home. Somebody else, a man, thanked him. And then he came and said, for me, my entire existence is to make my wife happy. Don't put me in your conversation. If my wife tells me to shoot you, I will shoot you. For me, do not put me in this conversation. My relationship with my wife is healthy. Whether I've come back tired and I see that she is tired or she is occupied, I will go and hug her in the kitchen where she is. He stayed away from that conversation. But somebody wanted to box him in a place where he takes aside. And so many times when we are having conversation, there are people who see no problem. For example, for him, he might have conceptualized what was said on the show differently. And so his response was different because it was not harmful to him. But there's another man who will see something I say here today and it will touch something in them that will push them
to action.
It's like Christianity. We walk on the streets. There are people who are preaching on the streets. They do nothing to me. I walk by. But there's a person, I saw a video online where a person stood and began to confront a man who was preaching on the street, and he was confronting, and somebody was taking a video, and I was asking myself, this man is just preaching to anybody. He just wants
Yes.
So that means that that preaching touched something in him
what he was
spiritually that made him to push
Fight
back.
back.
So many times when you're challenging systems and power relations, they will push back and label you different things. But when if I ask people, what is that toxic thing? What is it? Because for a certain man, the wife cooking for him means nothing to him. And that's the truth, there are men like that. But we assume all men want the same things. There's a man who desires a woman serving him. But there's a man who finds no problem with going home and cooking for, he does not feel less of a man. Because that's not his value system. I'm telling you that we assume all men want the same things.
Actually.
Yet, there are men who do not want the same things. Just like there are women who do these things.
My understanding is basically a little bit of how you defined it, all right? When you go to the literature, I was shocked at finding something different. And the thing is that we can talk here, like the other shows, and people go and start looking for things themselves. They are going to find very many things what that she has not said, by the way. Me, I was not that informed, but because you guys called me, I said I must be prepared. And I only read articles by feminine researchers. And those are the ones who shocked me about toxic femininity. And for me, it started making me think that I think the whites have advanced a certain place, and quietly, even through their academic literature, they do a little bit of this. That if hit here, if you're not going our way, it's no way. Because for me, I think, if it is feminism, let it stay feminism. When you start calling Marxist, liberal, radical, why? Just call it feminism. Because there are some feminist movements which are attacking powers, like she talked about patriarchy, and their role is to change systems, capitalism and whatever. That's where it gets lost. I believe, like how she defined it, there are about 3-4 things that they're trying to do to make sure that a woman has a good life and is not disadvantaged. The problem, once you call this thing of ism, like we said earlier about a movement, it gets out of control. Getting back to your thing, before I read, my definition of feminists are those toxic, is those who their levels. One, alpha female, okay? Women who try to be male, okay? That's one. Toxic feminists, to me, is also those who, maybe that's are their thoughts, those who go to the workplace and start hitting out at other women. All right, so don't go up the ladder and stuff like that. And part of that, I thought that was basically toxic. The ones who want to come and control the home, that's what I thought I was going to find there. The definitions there are different. So now I appreciate the role that media actually shapes how these things are perceived. And scholars, I think, could be a little bit off. They could be saying all those sorts of things, and they're speaking to, kind of maybe nobody. Except themselves. So that's what I'd call toxic femininity. The feminism. There are people who just come and I demand, whatever. They're always combative rather than What makes it toxic is this: language. Approach, battle. Our nature as a society, we talk more, negotiate more. All right? The white people, by their nature, are more adversarial. So the legal system that we go to is actually more adversarial. So these approaches that we're also getting from there, by virtue of their culture and their nature, they are more adversarial than negotiating people. So I'm not surprised that when that thing comes, put the law. You cannot have HIV unless you have a policy, because there's so much into that the policy is going to judge behavior. The policy doesn't necessarily influence behavior. But in this alternative disputes, like in Bali, I told you, now every boy gets their own knife. Took them 3 years. When we go to Captura with female genital mutilation, WFPA came with all the they got the minister in charge of that thing. Women just went under. So it became even unhealthier. I don't know if they've actually reached that point where they've accepted to move, to stop. Many of them have. But as a society, it takes longer. But you see, once it takes longer, it creates an environment which can sustain it. Now they've got the behavior to sustain that new behavior. So toxic, the way I defined it is what I thought is not what the... Yeah, so for me, I still think
And
toxic are those, but it might be wrong.
Me, I find that a mindset issue. Why also, when we're talking about, for example, toxic masculinity, I like to give this example of, men being perceived as violent, as people who are sexual objects. Sometimes it makes them, some men think that it's a good thing to be looked at as somebody who
Macho.
sexual and
Yeah.
you understand?
Yeah, sexual proud.
But the fact that I have to be a certain way just because I'm in your presence should actually worry you. Because that is how you're presented to me.
Say that again. What did you?
The way that I have to behave around you must be because you are a sexual object. So even sitting next to you here, I must be like,
sit
okay,
properly.
Please don't touch me. You may be wanting to do ABCD.
Yes.
Because you're presented to me as an animal, a sex object. And I had this conversation with people on Twitter, and I said you should not take pride in the fact that you're presented to me as a person who cannot exercise self-control.
Yes.
We must actually get to a place where a man can choose not to jump on a woman.
Exactly.
That is why we say that not everybody who drinks is going to rape somebody.
Exactly.
Why must we blame
Exactly.
alcohol? When many men can exercise self-control.
Yeah.
So toxic masculinity, on the other hand, is us challenging the fact that men are not violent people. They can be non-violent people. They can also be violent people. They can be violent people, but that's a choice that a person makes to be violent. But we must not say men are generally violent people, right? Because once we start to profile men like that, which is what happens, then that is where notions like, oh, Mercy, you cannot wear that, you cannot be there. I know, of course, we must. Not all men are good, but putting that in the mind of a man means that the moment I find my husband doing something, he has every right to tell me I'm a sexual object. So I couldn't, I couldn't. But the fact that a man can be able to say, I can exercise self-control. I can make choices about who I want to be with. And if I'm going to be with somebody, it is a choice I made. But the way we pride in that, and some men enjoy it, they enjoy to be called that. But they do not know that for me, when a man prides in that, I think of an animal who cannot control themselves. That means that I have to control everything around me. And that's a bad thing to think about a man. I want to raise my sons to understand that they can make choices, that everything is a choice. If you choose to rape a woman, don't come and tell me that it is because she did ABCD. You must know that you had a choice not to. You had a choice to get yourself out of that situation. If you choose to go and cheat, it is a choice. You had a choice to sit me down, like the dialogue you're saying, and tell me, and this is not making sense to me.
When you microwave food,
and I'm going to that, relationship. But don't tell me that the reason you're cheating on me and you're not even living is because of ABCD. No, you must be able to own up your choices. If you choose to go, I have chosen, I have gone out, that is my choice. Do not blame another thing.
Toxic.
Because even me, regardless of my husband is not perfect. I'm in a workspace where I may meet men who have other attributes that he doesn't have. But he is the person that I chose.
Exactly.
And the things I want about him have nothing to do with the attributes on another man. So I exercise that choice every day to make sure that I stay loyal to my relationship. It is a choice. If I dare go outside, it is not because it is inadequate. It is a choice, a conscious choice I made as a person. So we need to be very cautious.
We need to be socialized that way.
We need to socialize.
This conversation is powerful. It's powerful.
Let me tell you, when you reach and your husband is not doing certain things, yes, like it can be by choice. The choice can be fastened by
Manuela?
The way my husband acts.
My dear panelists who are making the right choice to have this discussion, I am also going to assert the right to have a choice. To thank each of you. It has really been healthy, it's been educational, it's been informative. And as Bump Love, we would like to have this conversation to continue. How do we do that? By allowing you to continue the conversation with us. Give us your comments. I must say, from these deliberations, I am confident to conclude that the foundation of understanding and appreciating that women needed opportunity was a right foundation. By understanding that girls should go to school is an excellent foundation. By understanding that girls and women of a certain age should have a right to vote is a great understanding. There is a lot that came from that, and we are products of that power of choice, that the women who said yes, because of that, we have a panel here. Because of that, we have Bump Love. Because of the choices women made for us to have a platform. Bravo to that. The discussion continues. So much has been engaged from the foundation of feminism, all right? And we have started the discussion. We have started one of many discussions that people have had all over the world. What I'm grateful for is that each one here, Barbara, David, Manuela, and Mercy, have brought their heart, their generosity, their understanding, their experience to the platform of feminism. There are certain things we may be disagreeable towards, but what we can agree is yes, women and girls do need and deserved from long ago a platform to exercise rights. That's what we agree on. And I'm glad that you're here as an expert, Mercy. Extremely glad. I'm glad you're here, David. I'm glad Manuela and Barbara always sharing your heart. And that's important. That's what Bump Love is about, sharing our hearts. Oh, I'm deep. And of course we want to continue the conversation, but we can't right now. We can, however, with you. So like, comment, subscribe, share. Let's have this conversation continue on X and other social media platforms. We're not here to confront and attack. We're here to have a conversation. Feminism started on a foundation of beauty, grace, dignity. That's why we are here. That's why we are here. It's because of those great choices that we are here. Thank you so much for being with us. And of course, these looks just didn't happen on their own. You think they happen on their own? No. We don't wake up and, well, some of us. I
was about to tell you, please.
Barbara, did you wake up like that?
Almost.
Did you wake up like that?
Almost.
So tell us, yes.
Hair, I'd like to thank the Viluxe Hair and Beauty Salon. The dress by the awesome David Kabenge.
Great. Good to know. Manuela, did you wake up like this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm a feminist.
We look good.
I will not bastardizing it. It's a beautiful thing. Feminism got this beautiful hair because those days I would be covering my hair, but now it's only wearing makeup. I mean, Zuri Luxury did this. Tina Browse did my makeup. Tina would not even be doing makeup. She would be there hiding in the bedroom, but now she makes money out of it. Cadia fashions, all of this, by the way, owned by women.
Yes.
Yeah. Women
Thank you.
So
thank you.
Thank you to the movement that got these women in the doors.
Yes.
Let's just not bastardize it.
Yes. Thank you.
Let's leave it as beautiful.
Thank you. And Mercy, I know your particular clothing has a lot of symbolism. Would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And this is by Grace. She's Taylor from Arua. And so she made this for me. The entire outfit, by the way, the top, pants and everything. And I like to support that because that's indigenous work, and I think those indigenous knowledge is not lost. And I'm very proud of that. So thank you for having us here and for sharing this space for clarity and education. I know many people really learn something. These conversations you have spark something. And I hope that we continue with these conversations because that's one of the ways we do what he said.
Inside out.
Mr. Kabiswa,
Yes.
where did your beret?
I was waiting. I actually thought she was going to skip me. This beret from Nuanyazi.
I know, he's a wonderful artist.
He's that Ochichiwa Nuanyazi. You know, you can find them at National Theatre. These are the things, I got daughters, as you know. They care how I get out of the house. If it is not the thing, I'd be okay. They said, Dad, it can't be like that. So this is courtesy of my family.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. Helen Kabiswa. Yes, Rebecca Kabiswa and Eliana Kabiswa, those are the ones at home.
Yeah.
So it took long for these people to tell me they are smart. They first complimented each other. When I said something, then they complimented me. So I'm not so sure. But
If it was genuine.
but you know, I'm glad.
All right. This natural afro by Bev.
All right.
This dress, Arija Fashions, I would never pick this off a clothes hanger on my own. But Arija keeps on understanding how I should be more creative with my choice of clothes. And here you are. Is it satin? Is it lemon gold? What would you call this color? Satin?
Champagne.
Satin. Champagne is good. Champagne.
Yeah, let's go.
It's been wonderful. It's been beautiful. To the feminists, to those who are understanding feminism, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining Bump Love, and have a wonderful, wonderful Friday and weekend. Bye-bye.